Yeah, you gotta get a mentor to learn from the role model.
Midnight Discovery. Yeah. This is about, I want to say, our 6th or 7th meeting now. We meet weekly around 4 to 5:30 in Knoxville, Tennessee. If anyone wants to join us, $20 for the meeting, and which we kind of loosely enforce, but it's all good. And then for the regulars, they get a pass and stuff. But yeah, so, and we're talking about crypto today, and today we're mostly catching up 4th of July stuff, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's go. I didn't have any kind of big presentation because we just have so much crap to catch up on. And
yeah.
Let's scoop behind you, my man.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
It's just kind of informal, yeah. I guess tell us about the Neo and the node running.
Yeah,
like
totally.
How does that work? Like Neo is different than Neo shares, right? Like they're different than the Ant share rebrand.
Yeah, totally different.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, totally different. Now, Neo's, I am going to grab something to drink. That's the only thing with the 5:30 is it's like beer's a little bit more socially acceptable.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, is that how that works? Oh, you already grabbed one?
Yeah.
Sweet. I'll go ahead and...
If you got some water, I'll take
water.
that.
Like, get you, hey, will you grab him a cup right there?
Yeah.
And what would you like to drink?
I have water. Got some.
You got water?
Yep.
Alright, I'll go ahead and I'm going to actually have orange juice. Do you mind grabbing me a cup too?
Yeah.
Those little, will you grab them little cups at the bottom?
Little cups.
The white ones? Yeah, right there. Cool. But yeah, I'll go ahead and talk about Neos because I kind of liked it. I definitely bought it.
Some water in there.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I definitely bought it, not fully understanding what I was buying, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
the learning experience.
So, and the Neos has helped me like understand all the other coins, basically.
Oh yeah, cool. How?
Yeah. So there's like the Bitcoin thing, which, as we kind of know, Bitcoin and Litecoin operate on the same network, and they're kind of partner coins in a way.
Yeah.
And so basically, if the Bitcoin gets screwed up, then the Litecoin takes over.
Okay.
And then also, I talked with someone who's really heavy into Litecoins, Sean Casey. He's heavy into Litecoins.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, well, I didn't know till recently either. But he's actually started he's doing what we're doing, but in a more professional setting. He's a programmer.
Oh, okay.
And he also, let's just say he's probably, he's around more people who are into it. So we're making our little, what you might call hodgepodge crew of like 5 or so ICO coiners, where he's like kind of been traveling the world talking with people who are into Bitcoin and Litecoin and etc.
Where's he living?
I frankly do not know. I asked him once about 2 or 3 years ago. He said he moves every 3 to 4 months.
Okay. Okay.
The ghost.
Couch surfer, yeah.
Well, last time I talked to him, he was in Hawaii, but he might be in Australia at this point. He used to be in Thailand, but in either case, he's been kind of like, he's around more coin risk takers.
Yeah.
People who are into coins.
Right.
Whereas, all of us have jobs or whatever. So we're in coin part-time, not full-time.
Yeah, I mean, I think Litecoin, correct me if I'm wrong, it's basically just like a 4x Bitcoin. It's basically got 4 times as many total max supply, so I guess instead of 21 million, it's 84 million. I think that it's 2.5 minutes to every 10 minutes of Bitcoin.
Right.
As far as the block releases. I want to say that they've got a more like coordinated developer team.
They do. Well, they have a
You actually know who the developer team is.
Yeah.
Satoshi Nakamoto is for Litecoin.
Right.
But other than that, it's still really the same technology. It's still the underlying same technology as Bitcoin.
It is.
And it's just kind of like faster than 4x. Is the way
Yeah.
I think about it.
That's I would call it the exact way to think about it as far as I'm concerned. For all the people new into crypto, Bitcoin is designed so long ago, and they designed it for a 10-minute block time, which is the update time. So to purchase something on Bitcoin and to make sure everyone has it, it takes 30 to 40 minutes to do that because you need to wait 3 or 4 blocks, and then everybody's got it. So 30-40 minutes when Bitcoin started in 2009. This is before iPhones, probably. I don't know. No, iPhones were after that. Anyways.
Yeah.
But this is about the time that like iPhones and stuff were just coming out. So when Bitcoin started, 30 minutes to send money from here to China was great. Because otherwise it took 3 or 4 days. So what, if you, no, you're right. But yeah, no. But 30 minutes to here to China was great versus 3 to 4 days. But now that there's like 1,000 Bitcoins or whatever the case, Ethereum can send money and have it confirmed in 4 minutes, roughly, instead of 30. And Litecoin can do it in 8 minutes instead of 30. So there you go.
Yeah. And I think there's more total transactions on Ethereum right now currently. Even though there's only 30 per second, there's still a way.
That's all funny. I don't think it's a good idea to compare them like that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the Ethereum people like to do that
because they can do anything that Bitcoin can, basically.
The Ethereum. Granted, I'm a big investor on Ethereum. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But the Ethereum people will compare it as if it's a 1-for-1. But Bitcoin, every time you use Bitcoin, you're almost exclusively sending or receiving money. And when you do Ethereum, you might be, maybe you click on it's not there right now, but maybe you click on a website and you click 2 or 3 times to like go to 2 or 3 different web pages through the Ethereum network. And you might have had 5,000 transactions just then. And they all cost you a penny or something like that. But you're not sending money. So technically the Ethereum is the longer blockchain, but in terms of like security or whatever, every transaction on Bitcoin is sending relatively large amounts of money back and forth, whereas probably more than half of the, or maybe half of the Ethereum transactions are running a piece of computer code that effectively has no, I will just kind of call it no value, but it could just be one person, in theory, doing half of all Ethereum transactions, whereas there's no reason for any one person in Bitcoin to transfer money more than a few times a day or whatever.
Yeah, they would be paying the transaction cost to do that, and whereas in Ethereum, they're actually running code and producing a result. So
yeah, and then
unless they had a reason to pay somebody on.
And then something else with the in terms of the Litecoin. This is what my buddy Sean was telling me about with Lightning Network. Raiden is the one that we use for Ethereum. I'm much more familiar with the Raiden system, but they call it senators. So the easiest way to think of Raiden is imagine Walmart or whatever your big box store is, but rather than every customer running one Ethereum transaction for each bill they pay, the customers will run, let's just pretend 1,000 transactions. So 1,000 customers will do a transaction, send it to Walmart, and then Walmart will send it to Ethereum one time.
Okay. So Walmart's keeping track of all these different IOU accounts, basically.
Yeah.
And then making one net transaction.
Okay, hold on. What is Raiden?
Raiden, actually.
Raiden. Okay.
Yeah. And Raiden's going to come out in 2 months or thereabouts. I mean, granted, it's a new discovery in technology. So, and Ethereum's essentially their niche is that they're the technology leaders, or they're the ones who are trying to come out with all the new technology. So predicting when new technology is ready is impossible. That's the reason it has not been discovered yet, because you don't know where it is. But what Raiden is supposed to do is Ethereum can process 20 transactions a second right now. Raiden or the Lightning Network, if you support Bitcoin and Litecoin, Raiden and the Lightning Network, they will take it from 20 to roughly 100 transactions a second. Now, how they do this exactly, I'm not. I don't know all the technical details. Yeah, magic. But one of the two things that are really important for Raiden, as far as it applies, is that, for example, like a store or whatever, like a Walmart, could use a Raiden system, and this would reduce the demand on the network from like one transaction every swipe of the credit card to one transaction every 5 minutes or something like that.
How do you spell
Right.
Raiden?
Raiden.
Like the Mortal Kombat character, huh?
Yeah, lightning. Yeah, okay, that's why they call it. I'm sure that's why they called it Raiden. Or
Yeah,
Raiden probably
it's
is
the lightning.
a Chinese god for lightning, and that's how the Mortal Kombat character got his name. I'm sure. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, you're
something
totally
like
right. And so, so Raiden will it will allow people like Walmart to use the Ethereum network without placing an unusual demand on the Ethereum network. Batching of transactions, which is the goal of Raiden, is to batch transactions. And then secondly, it allows for, I will call it semi-anonymous. People call it anonymous. I'll call it semi-anonymous for talking purposes, because I'm kind of not positive with that. But it will allow for anonymous transfer of money or pooling of money. So in terms of the other coins like Neos and Dash, Monero, these systems, aside the popularity for their investment value, which is relatively significant, the second reason that you use these types of coins is because they do batch anonymous transfer. So you send $10. A bunch of people send $10 to a pool of $5,000. The $5,000 gets mixed out and pays out a bunch of other people $10. And in terms of like when you see the stereotyped, blockchain is just for drug dealers and Ponzi schemes. These things kind of operate like that. Whereas the purpose of Dash and Zcash and whatever the case, Monero, the main purpose of it is not really technology, but the anonymous transfer of funds.
Yeah, but they're still using like ring signatures, I think, is the encryption type. There's something that's different about
they use a different technology, but
yeah,
and it's not what I'll call 1,000% hacker proof. Whereas Bitcoin is like 1,000% hacker proof, and Ethereum,
it's well tested. It's historically
well, and
been around and all.
Ethereum's similar, but they don't use anything like that at all.
Yeah.
Now, and these systems also work with the Tor network, which is great, and this is probably, in terms of long-term, one weakness that I dislike with Ethereum personally. Bitcoin and these anonymous coins can operate on Tor, which essentially means that if I wanted to run Bitcoin or these Dash things and whatever, then no one would know that I'm doing it if I run it through the Tor network. Or it'd be very difficult for someone to find me if I was running it through the Tor network or a VPN or whatever the case may be. But Ethereum, which does not have Tor and will not work with Tor, at least until Tor is significantly upgraded, if the government at any point in time was to say no computers are allowed to run Ethereum, well, people talk about you could do a VPN and stuff like this, which is only sort of secure. It's not as secure as people pretend it is, but Tor is very secure in terms of the privacy aspects for the most part. And so you would have, the only way you could run Ethereum is through VPN, or the ISPs and governments would know that you're running it. Whereas the rest of these, if you run them through Tor, then no one really knows that you're running it or using it. And then the way that they track coins is completely different. So it's very good for people who want to just launder money for simplicity's sake, but not that anyone should do that.
But Tor, like the end, just to confirm, like Tor, the end relay is unknown. That's why it's more anonymous. And VPN, they don't know what traffic you're sending, but they know where you're connecting.
Yeah, VPN, you always know where. Now, granted, people will be like, "Oh, I hopped 7 times, or I hopped 5,000 times to get to the VPN." The traffic may or may not be encrypted, but where you're going, Tor is set up to be encrypted the whole way through.
It is for the relay nodes.
Question.
Yeah, no one's.
Isaiah, do you understand all these terms, like what Tor is?
I mean, I know a few. I've
Okay.
spent time on like computers and stuff. So
Jump
Okay.
in if
Now tell me, because I'm wondering, what exactly is this Tor that you keep on talking about?
Okay, so Darknet.
the onion router.
The onion router. People call it the onion router, Tor, Darknet. So what these things do is like when you go to www.amazon.com, that's actually going to an IP address, and then when it goes to that IP address, it does a series of commands that makes the Amazon web browser look.
Sends it back to your computer, and the whole time it knows your IP address, and the server knows your IP address, and you know the server's IP address.
All right.
Yeah, and then I of course could host a web page on that you could visit through Chrome or whatever the case. I think if I gave people my IP address and if I had set it up properly, I could host something on my computer.
All right.
And then you and I could exchange information this way. But our information would not be encrypted, blah, blah, blah. So Tails is an operating system like Windows, but it's like a replacement Windows that you operate using a flash drive. So it doesn't use your hard drive at all. If I put Tails and run a computer using Tails, then there's no record that Tails has ever been opened or run. But if I use Windows for my computer, then there's a record that someone's accessed Windows.
Yeah, Microsoft's collecting more statistics, but actually, I think you can run Tor on Windows. I think
never.
Tor,
you can.
Not to be most secure.
No. Sorry. Yes, you can run Tor on Windows.
Yeah.
No. That's totally true. It's not even. I mean, it's not close to the same level of
Microsoft
security.
and your ISP will know you're connecting to a Tor relay node. But I think even if you're on Tails, your ISP still knows you're connecting to a Tor relay node. They just don't know what you're sending. But anyways, okay, what Tor does is it allows, in the typical client-server model, the server that's hosting the website is unknown, just like the client's IP address is unknown. It sends it through a bunch of relays that are encrypted, and you don't know the path that it goes back. And if it's actually a relay node still, or if it's actually the ending recipient that's either servicing that web page or requesting it.
And then also Tor does a thing, and we'll talk about it another time in a little bit more detail. But it does a thing where it encrypts the traffic so that the person using I can't forget how it does this, but it does 7 hops in the Tor network, so it goes from one to the next, and this person does not have the. So first it puts everything in a giant box, and the key moves. I'll just kind of call it. It just moves to the person that you're trying to communicate to. So puts all the information you want to send in a box, gives the key to the person you're trying to give it to, and then this box jumps through 7 different people who can't open the box. The only information they know is the only information they know is who's the next person on the list to send this information to. So I'll just talk like Julian Assange or whatever the case. If I wanted to Tor with Julian Assange over in the Ecuadorian embassy, no one would know that I've contacted him. They would know that I contacted, let's just pretend, some guy in Russia. This guy in Russia then contacted somebody in Switzerland. It's always going to be cross-country, typically. But I contact somebody in Russia, and then the Russian person contacted somebody in Switzerland, and then the Swiss person contacted somebody back in the U.S., and then back in Russia again, then back into the U.S., and then back to the Ecuadorian embassy. So in order for any nation state to acquire all the rights to breach privacy rights, they have to go through a giant international fest to acquire all that and to locate all these servers.
And this is Tor?
This is what the Onion browser, Tor, darknet.
And it was mainly made as like a freedom fighter type tool for people that were living in oppressive regimes and allowing them to connect out without, like, if you're living in North Korea and you could somehow get internet connection out, you could use Tor to communicate out to the West or other parts of the world. And the people in North Korea, their ISPs couldn't tell. They could tell you're connecting to a Tor relay, but they couldn't actually see the traffic. Everything besides that packet header is encrypted. And only that packet header that it needs to go to that next relay hop is unencrypted.
Patrick actually knows quite a lot about this, but it's actually a good chunk of Tor was created by the U.S. military.
Yeah, that's who created it. Yeah.
Is the U.S. military. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the U.S. military created Tor in order to, after World War II, etc., but around this time, but even before,
the That way, their communications are encrypted, right? And so you couldn't see, like, if you're in enemy territory and you're basically connecting back from France or Germany, the Germans couldn't see like what you're connecting.
Yeah, reading
your
people's
traffic
mails, stopping people from being able to communicate, sending false signals and so forth. The military uses Tor to communicate back and forth. Edward Snowden uses Tor. Julian Assange uses Tor. Now they all use Tails and Tor as a combo.
Yeah. And so it's basically like a freedom browser, and it allows you to view information and view websites anonymously, and allows people to host websites anonymously. And it's a double-edged sword because, like, there's great content out there, but there's also, like, people that are hosting child porn sites and stuff.
Yeah, if people talk about that, this is really much more of a, you're free to walk around, don't go punching and killing people.
Right.
And there's people who punch and kill people who walk on streets. So should you avoid streets? Because punchers and killers use streets as well?
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
of course,
a hammer doesn't know the difference between flesh and metal, and it's still a useful tool. I mean, that's
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, and so then also, in terms of the porn sites, the FBI was actually hosting, I want to say 5,000 child porn sites on the Tor network. And this is something, when there's a piece of software that the FBI cannot stop, or the NSA cannot stop, or no government in the world can stop currently, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Then what they like to tell people is it's used for getting murderers, killers, and child pornographers. And then they say, well, guess what? There's a whole lot of child porn on the Tor network. Well, who put it on there? The FBI, in this case, actually put on, I want to say 50,000 plus child pornography images onto the Tor network.
Yeah, they hosted a site, and they continued to host it. Instead of taking it down, they continued to host it for weeks to basically entrap or trap a few more.
This is the claim.
People.
This is where you don't want to.
Yeah,
you don't want to spout the claim, because to be clear, what he's talking about this stuff, because you're just repeating what was the news headline.
Right.
But there's no public. Hey, this is the person we caught from this child pornography case, or this is the important person we caught, or this is the reason we're doing this. They never say that. All that is publicized for the 5 years up to now is Tor is used for child pornography. But there's been no case of anybody except for the FBI, as far as most people know, of promoting child pornography on Tor. So you wonder whether the FBI tells you it's part of an important criminal investigation where child pornography is traded and hosted on this Tor network, but they're the only persons trading and hosting it. But 5 years up till now, they said, don't use Tor ever, because it's just child pornographers, and it's not a good tool for avoiding security, which it was. It still is.
They invented it, so they clearly know that's not the case.
And then they claim, once they get outed, and once people within the FBI are like, hey, let's just stop giving away child pornography to everyone, let's stop forcing child pornography on people. And then people in the FBI, and then later they say, oh yeah, this was part of a long-standing operation that took 5 to 10 years. I'll just cut to the chase. Yeah, effing right. There's no such thing as an entrapment case that takes more than, other than big scale, that takes more than a few months. You're not going to have a website that calls buyhitmenforfree.com and then have 10,000 of those, and you're like, oh yeah, we're catching people all the time. The big guys are going to buyhitmenfree.com. Or the big guys are just looking up images.
So, I mean, there's
in child pornography.
Sites like
if you do child pornography, you get children. You don't look up images.
And I guess the take home is that like ISPs and governments aren't a big fan of Tor, but it is like a tool to basically anonymize your IP address and anonymize the websites you're viewing.
All right.
So it's kind of
So if getting a little deviated
sure.
here, but if you said that you wanted to communicate something with Assange,
Julian Assange,
or Snowden,
or Edward Snowden,
or inside stock trading tips,
or inside,
or Hillary Clinton, or Trump.
All right, Now, just so I'm understanding this, I'd like to send this note to Hillary Clinton, telling her of something that I think she needs to know.
The head of the FBI is trying to screw her over. Whatever.
Right.
How how would I go about using Tor or Tails or any of these other
Well,
things?
You probably want to use encryption, but like the way when you send that traffic, when it goes across the internet, the same way it was like if you'd send an email or type in your login information to a website, when you send that information, it's encrypted over Tor. And more importantly, I mean, you can go to a website that's on the ClearNet that's HTTPS, and it's secured by that TTP. That's when you see the little lock.
Yeah.
You want that.
Yeah, you see the lock.
But that basically means it's still encrypted in your traffic encrypted, but the server's address is known and the client's address is known.
Okay, now if I don't care,
it's not.
If I don't care if she knows that I sent it to her,
then they could just stop the information.
Then I don't need to use any of this. But if I'd like to send her something and remain completely anonymous,
then you use Tor.
I don't want her to know that I'm, or the government or anybody else to know that I'm sending this message. That's where I would want to use this Tor thing or Tails.
Yeah, and then you're going to encrypt out to a network that's not your own, not your home network that, you're paying your ISP bill with Comcast and said, Hillary's going to know exactly who it is. I mean, that would be what you do, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And then in terms of, so Tor is to send it over the internet, and then Tails, they call it, I forget what they call it, like,
the Amnesia operating system?
Yeah, well, I was trying to think of the hack type that they have in Windows, but essentially, any FBI, NSA type of agent, Microsoft has, it's for those of us who follow this type of stuff, and plus, frankly, I'm just knowledgeable in this stuff, every Windows system today is 100% all the time accessible to the NSA or the FBI or whatever.
Yeah, Microsoft's sending more data now than ever about their users for sure, and they're collecting it. They've taken on the business model of Google much more than like, all right, you bought this computer, you own it now.
Right, and so when you think you can run Tor through Windows, and that will do you okay, but everything you do on that screen is capturable by NSA or whatever, and they can access this data. Now, people talk about privacy. I'm not going to really go into that. Privacy is the most sacred right in the world, or something like this. Granted, important, blah blah blah. But the head of security for the government has access to every single computer and smartphone, for that matter, that they want access to, in the United States, in the entire United States, for every population group. And if you need to get around it, you use Tails and Tor, and if you don't, you don't. There you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think still though we're ultimately very fortunate that it's kind of scary to think about that. Yeah, the United States has that power, but we are very fortunate to live in the United States and not somewhere like North Korea or some very oppressive place where it's very much necessary to even like view Google or some other regular website on the internet.
So, I probably have a better life. Yeah, that's true.
But anyway,
let's go back to crypto.
Get back to the cryptos. So so Bitcoin Tails is on the one type of system, and they're kind of sharing a similar system. And there's a big thing coming up August 1st, where Bitcoin is supposed to do a soft fork into SegWit, and if that goes over smoothly, Bitcoin is fine. But you can expect some extreme market volatility basically the week before and at least 2 or 3 days after August 1st. Bitcoin's going to be going up and down all day. Yeah. And Litecoin's going to probably skyrocket around the 20th of July because they run the same network. So if Bitcoin falls, Litecoin steps in. So Litecoin might skyrocket around July 20th, and then August 10th, it might go down quite a bunch. Mm-hmm. You never know.
Why would you? Okay, if August 1 is the hard fork date.
Or soft fork, just to be clear.
Okay, soft fork.
Yeah.
Why would you say July 20 and August 10?
People
why
are
would you
moving out of
20?
Bitcoin they're moving out of Bitcoin the 10 days before the fork into Litecoin or something.
Right.
Or some other altcoin.
Right.
And then after Bitcoin's proven that it's stable, after the 8-1, maybe like 10 days, is what you're saying, and then people are going to go back into Bitcoin once it's proven to be stable. So they're going to basically be out of Bitcoin for that 20-day window.
And essentially this will improve the traffic flow over the Bitcoin network, which is currently at like roughly 15 transactions a second. This will improve it to like 30.
Yeah.
So does it make sense right now to get out of Bitcoin and shift to Litecoin?
Yeah, I
think
mean,
like
probably
promising of those two.
probably
I
not
would
a bad
bet on
idea.
that. I would
This
bet
is
on
what
that personally.
some other people recommend as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a few Litecoins now too. So.
Oh yeah. I kind of wish I did. I might grab a few.
I mean, I bought them a little bit around 50. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think Litecoin's definitely like an investor type of coin, which is you buy it now, put in a sell, maybe you sell it at $100 or something like that, because maybe it goes from, I think it's 50 right now.
Yeah, it's right. 50.
Yeah, it might go from 50, so like maybe 100 by July 20th or so, or July 28th.
That would be stellar. I would be very pleased.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping for 60, 75, 80, somewhere in there, but we'll see.
Yeah, and then just put a sell order and sell it when it's at 80 or 100.
Yeah.
And
Why
then
wouldn't you buy it today at 50?
Well, I'm just saying these
Right.
maybe things.
Well, I understand.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like the sooner the better, because I think it's gonna like.
I think
get
you're probably
closer
right.
at August 1st.
And then there's another issue, which is they always put this thing off. So
Yeah.
it's supposed to happen August 1st. They might wait till September 1st. They might, and then you end up with the drop that you didn't see coming.
And there's some big MIT project that's invested in Litecoin or something.
There might be. This is that Lightning Raiden network.
Is that what it is?
And that's the purpose. That's essentially the purpose of Litecoin is, whereas Ethereum is going to develop the Raiden network in-house for their own product, the Bitcoin team was not going to do it at all, and then the Litecoin team were like, okay, we're going to get Raiden to happen.
Yeah.
And then once Litecoin gets Raiden to happen, then Bitcoin will probably do it too.
Oh, I've got a nice piece of Litecoin.
Yeah, keep it.
I'm thinking. Actually, I've been
add to it.
Ethereum's been pretty dead
pretty miserable lately.
Just
I've been thinking about that. Too.
I'm
getting boring.
Why do y'all think Ethereum is kind of going slowly down?
Yeah. Let's talk about that. So why's it going down? So the things that I think that Ethereum's going down, the biggest long-term issue is the proof of stake issue and the miner issue, which is Ethereum was set for altcoin bonusing, and so Ethereum's bonusing out to the miners at an extremely high rate. So Ethereum and Bitcoin might have a similar market cap, and the Bitcoin pays out roughly 5% of their market cap to miners to support the network. Ethereum pays out roughly 15% to miners.
Say that once again, please.
Right. So all these coins were developed and invented as if no one wanted to do blockchain. This is Ethereum, all of them were started this way. So they're like, how do we incentivize people to do our blockchain? So Bitcoin says we'll give, I think it's actually 4%, but I'll just call it 5. But Bitcoin's like, we will give 5% of all the coins to the miners every single year. And effectively, you can just say this big group of people in China. Big group of people in China will get 5% of all Bitcoins every year. Now, the way that they get this is they don't take it from other people. You have, I will just call it 20 million, it's not accurate, but you have 20 million Bitcoins, 1 million new Bitcoins are given to those miners, who then can sell it and deflate the market.
Okay, when you say given to them, they earn them by doing the work.
Yeah, but
of verification of the blockchains.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Are you saying that like about 5% of the annual Bitcoin market cap is given to the miners? Is
that is accurate.
Okay, I was
say,
making sure that it wasn't just like, all right, here's your Christmas bonus.
It's not just handed over.
It's for doing
just
the
because you're
work.
Chinese. It's for working.
Well, I will say two things on that, but and just to be clear, I think it's 4%, but I'll always call it 5 for the purpose here.
Yeah.
But just so the Bitcoin people don't get pissy at me. They're like, that 1% made all the difference, man.
People.
They get so obnoxious, to be frank. But anyways.
Why not use the right number if you know it and it's...
No, well, 5%, 15%, because I don't know the Ethereum one offhand, so I'm going to end up rounding both.
Okay.
And then also, when it comes to doing math, it's a lot easier. But so, in terms of doing the work, there's two things on this, and just to be clear here. So, in one sense, doing the work is sending transactions back and forth. And they'll always call these the same thing, mining, but they're not at all the same. So there's sending transactions back and forth, and if I want to send you a Bitcoin, I pay 50 cents. And then 100 of us pay 50 cents, so we pay $50. You process that, and
that goes into a block, right? Each transaction builds into the
block. So you process that block, and you get $50 now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would call paying for doing the work. However, there's the risk, and this is kind of what you're more alluding to. So there's the risk that there's no transactions in that block. And particularly 6 years ago, when Bitcoin first started, there were never, the majority of the blocks were nearly all empty. So when Bitcoin first started. So at that time, you could have mined that block and got no money at all. So instead, they set up this bonus system to make sure that everyone got money regardless of whether or not there's transactions in that block. So now today, you never have a Bitcoin block that's empty. There's always been transactions over a 10-minute period.
That's right, because the reward used to be 50 Bitcoins for mining a block, then it was 25, and I think it's 12.5 or even less at this point.
So
it's quartered, I know, from
yeah,
the beginning, at least.
It goes down,
less,
yeah. And it'll always be 4 or 5% of the total market cap. It just gets smaller and smaller.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Basically
Okay, cool.
until like 2030 or something.
Yeah.
Like way beyond the lifespan of Bitcoin. People talk about it like it's going to reach the 21 million coins and then it's stopping forever.
It's going to flatten out. Like those last few are going to be really
It does some
hard.
weird flatten out thing, yeah.
Because we're already at what, like almost 18, like the 21 now, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, so then in terms of, so there used to be the risk that the blocks would be empty, and all these chains start off with a ton of empty blocks. Ethereum, which is super popular now, and it has a new block every minute versus 10 minutes, it has a few empty blocks, but the vast majority have information in them. So anyways, so in order to entice people to go from Bitcoin to Ethereum, more or less, all your altcoins will do this. Come in, man.
Hey,
Oh, hey.
how's it
Yeah,
going?
yeah. You want to come
Good.
chill and listen to the meeting?
Yep,
Do you mind if we just keep talking?
go for it.
You can grab that chair. Just pull it a little bit off to the side so you're off camera or whatever. So
recorded.
yeah.
You're on camera.
You want to introduce yourself at all or anything?
Barrett Leslie.
Okay.
Sean,
Brett?
Beach Barrett.
Nice to meet you.
Phil Barnett.
How you doing, Phil?
Barrett's
I think we met last week.
Yeah.
We might have.
Barrett's an investor at the good time right now.
All right.
He missed the 2 weeks ago period. Good for him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It dropped like 2 weeks ago, and now it's a lot of us think it's a good time to buy, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Where's it at right now?
About 250, isn't it?
Is it really 250? I did not look today. I was hoping it's
260
still
260 last time I looked.
Okay, at least it's at 260.
Yeah.
I'll put it in just a minute.
But anyways,
264.
264. There you are.
All right.
Yeah, fair enough. So, but anyways, so the empty blocks, and that's why they had these bonuses, and all these altcoins, instead of paying 5% of their market cap, they'll be set up to pay like 15% of their market cap, and then Ethereum was set up that way, and then Ethereum's market cap went from like 200 million or whatever, 900 million, to 25 billion in 1 year, and so currently the miners of Ethereum are getting paid roughly $3 billion maybe a year in order to mine Ethereum, and this is just their bonus money in addition to those transaction fees that are now part of the Ethereum. So,
I hate to interrupt.
oh, you gotta go? You gotta split? Cool.
Alright.
I
I'll
think
see
good
you
talking with
tomorrow.
you. Yeah. Nice to meet you, Bob.
Well, good to meet you.
Isaiah?
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah. So Isaiah's gonna do some programming for us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Get your own DApp set up, all right.
I know, that's ICO, there we go.
Yeah.
ERC20. But anyways, so so the bonuses, so Ethereum right now is paying out roughly 3 billion a year bonuses toward these miners, which the cost to just purchase the computers they might need is about $100 million. to purchase all the computers. So when it's a small coin, 100 million's expensive to come with, but 100 million's way cheaper than 3 billion.
That's why I can't buy any graphics cards right now.
Yeah.
Because it's, obviously a lot more attractive than it was a few months ago.
Right. And so Ethereum 5 months ago, they said, you know what, Bitcoin, Bitcoins, I'll just call Bitcoin to refer to blockchain.
Yeah.
But Bitcoin's going to become real popular. Proof of stake might work one day. But then all of a sudden, blockchains became insanely popular, and it's way more cost effective today to just purchase the computers in-house and go to proof of stake immediately.
Right.
And Ethereum had a 1-year plan to get there eventually, but Ant shares, or ANS, or rebranded NEO, they are doing proof of stake today, and they just purchased their miners in-house. Tezos, which just had a new ICO, raising roughly 300 million. I think they're at 200 million last I looked, and they were just a third of the way through, so it's probably going to be about 300 million when it's all done. So Tezos is just going to purchase all their computers in-house and just have it be a little bit of a cost or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then Ethereum, I personally hope that with Metropolis, that gets released in roughly 2, maybe 4 months, that they just say screw waiting for a year and paying these miners $3 billion over the course of the next year. Let's just make proof of stake the same way everybody else does and just purchase our computers and save our investors a lot of money. So
yeah, they may. It's going to be interesting to see how these first proof of stake coins do.
Well, but yeah, so that's hurting the Ethereum marketplace. Mm-hmm. Is this Ethereum used to be the only coin moving toward proof of stake? Now it's essentially one of the old coins doing proof of work, and the new coins are doing proof of stake before Ethereum.
Right.
When Ethereum was supposed to be the first ones to do it. And then the other thing that's hurting Ethereum is this Lightning Network, the Raiden system.
Yeah.
This thing is likely going to be finished within the next month or 2, and then no one knows, but it's likely going to be finished, I'll call it 2 months, within 2 months, and this will essentially free up the Bitcoin network so it can start to process transactions again, mm-hmm. and basically reduce the Bitcoin fees maybe 30% less than they are today.
Yeah.
Which helps the Bitcoin. And then the other thing that Ethereum's experiencing, which is fairly normal, is I'll just kind of call it technological delays. They had a plan to release Metropolis a month ago. Then they said they'll release it the same time, August 1st. They're gonna match that deadline for their Metropolis release date. And this is called they call this the Ice Age. So Ethereum kind of wants to, what you might call, disrupt the market the same day that Bitcoin's doing it, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, anyways. So those are the things that I come up with. What do you think's affecting the Ethereum market?
I think, those are spot on. I was looking up, I'd heard that Dash has got an increase in the horizon. They've got development plans for raising the block size to 20 megabytes.
Yeah.
And that's going to be huge, because I was looking at Bitcoins. Bitcoins is a little less than 1 megabyte right now, so they're going to be 20 times bigger than Bitcoin, which means that they can process a ton of transactions per second.
Yeah.
Because they can fit all those extra transactions in there. And I think that scaling seems to be the holy grail right now in the blockchain community. Like, what's going to scale right now? What's going to be so fast that everybody can go to it? And the more and more I look at it, I think, like, I don't know, I kind of had, originally when I first looked at Ethereum, I kind of was like, they said that it would be an immutable coin, but then they changed it, so therefore they could just basically, it's centralized. It's kind of like a centralized bank. They can do whatever they want to with it. It's not really a crypto. But the more and more I think about it, like, it's a thriving, decentralized system. It's basically, it had to do that to thrive. It had to split off.
It had to do that split. Yeah.
It was a lot of investors, and just it would have crippled the whole ecosystem in general.
Ethereum would have gone bankrupt had they not done the DAO.
Yeah. So I think it's for the best, but I also think that that's appealing to the powers that be. And you talk about, like, there's a lot of things in the crypto world, in the decentralized community, that are not attractive to governments, not attractive to the status quo and these big corporations. But I think something like that is actually very attractive to
What's
them.
that?
The fact that you can make changes, and you know what, a consortium of people, a collaboration of people.
I mean, I can understand where you're coming from there. Now, I will just say, in terms of the crypto space, there's the anonymous Tor Tales type of people.
Mm-hmm.
Ethereum is essentially setting itself up not to be that.
Right.
Ethereum's really designing itself to be the business world computer.
Exactly.
They call it Web 3.0 and stuff like this. Ethereum wants to be approved by all the regulators, effectively.
Yes. And I think that's very appealing as an investment. I mean, you talk about the Dash and the Monero and these anonymous currencies, and it's cool, it's nice technology, but it's not going to attract the next JP Morgan and like these big investments.
Well, or the NSA.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, as soon as the NSA wants to stop these things, they can always stop these things as soon as they want to.
Right.
And Bitcoin is more difficult, but
Yeah.
But they can stop these things when they want to. And Ethereum, like, do you want the CEO of the company that you're investing in burning American flags and stuff like this and saying anarchy forever? Or do you want the CEO wearing a suit and going to luncheons with other CEOs of JP Morgan and Chase?
Do I care?
Well, you sort of care.
Tell me why.
Like Vitalik had a private meeting with Putin, the president of Russia. Of course, we all know this by now, but it's much better for an investment where your CEO is talking directly with the president of Russia than it is when your CEO is always making like instructional videos wearing a mask and talking like this because he's threw a voice in my.
I think it all comes down to the appeal to investors.
You just can't build a
appeal to
community like this.
More resources across the globe if you act the one way versus the other. And it's mainly because it's seen as a hostile way. I mean, if you were wearing a mask, I guess.
Yeah, it can't be regulated. Yeah, in the community involvement and stuff, like all the people in these other type of coins where Tails and Tor is the norm, you'll never know their name. You'll never, you might hear their voice. They'll always be going by these weird acronym words. I'll just say, in theory, in these Tails and Tor world, I could come up with 50 altcoins and pretend I'm all competing each other and run them all, and you would never know because it's common and normal for these people to just never reveal themselves.
Yeah, by username, if that.
So the investment there are risky, but talking about Neos, because I do want to talk about that one. And just to be clear, I have an investment in Neos. Neos is kind of a penny stock. So if anyone like purchases Neos, it does have a significant return on my personal investment. Whereas if you purchase Ethereum or Bitcoin, I'm effectively a very small portion of that investment pool. So I just want to say that before I talk about Neos, even though I'm not going to really talk positive or negative for the most part, I do just want to be super clear that whenever you talk about penny stocks, which granted Neos is $20 million, the market is so slim. If any single person purchases, it's like I could sell today and make a bunch. Yeah. But anyways, moving on, right? So in terms of why you buy cryptos, right?
Right.
So there's the Bitcoin, which is doing its one thing, and then there's the Ethereum, which is kind of doing its thing, with kind of competing with Bitcoin per se, you could kind of say. And then there's all these like betting coins and these other like kind of coins, but like, so the Bitcoin kind of tech coin and Ethereum competing tech coin with Gollum and Sia and some other kind of tech coins coming up in there. And then there's like your financial gambling coins and stuff, market maker coins, which is what they're like, Augur and Namiria, I believe, are basically around those ideas. Yeah. And then there's like a fourth group, which I never got into until Neos, which I might call the financial coins, the bank coins. It's best to think about them as the bank coins.
Okay.
So Dash is a bank coin, Monero, Zcash, and Neos. They're all what I will refer to as bank coins.
And when you say that, is that because they were initiated by banks?
I say that because their prices are very stable. And they're set up for long-term investment, and they reward you based on the amount of dollars you put in.
Okay.
So
okay.
Right. So and I'll talk about Dash because it's the one that's
Yeah.
going to matter here shortly for anybody who's curious about investing. If I was to do a bank coin, I would definitely go toward Dash, or I might go toward Tezos, another proof of stake coin.
Can you mine Dash, or is it proof
Yeah.
of stake?
Yeah,
You can mine Dash?
you can mine Dash, but how can you mine it? Do you know?
No.
You need $50,000 or
Alright,
or
yeah.
$40,000. You mine it with money. You mine it with money.
Is it proof of stake?
They call it mining,
Okay.
but it's stake. Okay. So the difference between let's just call it proof of stake for talking purposes.
Yeah.
The difference is in terms of the way Ethereum means proof of stake, is they mean it that it secures the blockchain through proof of stake. Dash is proof of stake in terms that they give you money for staking a whole bunch,
Yeah.
but they secure the blockchain just by the people. It's you can hack Dash, you can hack Monero, you can hack Zcash, you can hack Neos. You can't hack Bitcoin, you can't hack Ethereum.
Wait, why'd you invest in it if you can hack? If you can hack?
Well, but it takes a lot of money. Are people going to? What's the size? What's the amount of protection? I'll say I don't know all the details. I'll be clear on that. I don't know.
So it takes some sort of like 51% attack or something to hack it?
Not the same.
Okay.
Not the same. You can just straight hack it.
Huh.
Like the NSA, if the NSA wanted to hack Dash or hack individual computers on Dash and just change the amounts of money that were in the system, they can just do it.
Then why would that be appealing as a cryptocurrency?
Okay, so one reason is this anonymous funds transfer. So just for simple talk, I'll just call it drug dealing or something. But then the second reason is their reward system. So Bitcoin gives out its bonuses to all these people in China, effectively. Ethereum gives out its bonuses primarily again to China, but a variety of countries. And then these coins, they only give out bonuses to the people who own them. So before the proof of stake technology was developed, which it's not solidified, there's nobody that I know of that has actual functioning, fully functioning proof of stake in the same way that Bitcoin has proof of work.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
I don't think there's any of them that fully function that way. But these coins essentially took a shortcut to it, and they said, well, this is close enough. And so in terms of investing into it, the way that Neos, the way it does it, is you put in what is now $35,000 into Neos.
Mm-hmm.
So you put $35,000 into Neos, and they give you $15,000 a year. So 30% return,
wow. Okay,
roughly.
Yeah.
And Dash is similar. Dash pays you 10 or 15% or something a year.
Okay.
But all of these operate similarly, where you invest, I will just call it roughly $50,000. You invest roughly $50,000, and then they give you 30% rates of return. Or if you want to get a much smaller coin, like TX is one of the smaller ones. I'm not invested in that one. It has a market cap of like $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get into TX for like $1,000, and then you get $300 a year.
You and that guy in his basement in San Francisco.
Yeah, well,
investors.
yeah, exactly. And so the way that these coins end up operating, and I just mean functionally in terms of the economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a guy in Neos, so my Neos coins are only effective as long as there's a market for Neos. So, like my interest rate is only effective as long as there's a market for Neos.
Yeah.
So I buy $35,000 of Neos or whatever the case may be. I then put a permanent purchase, and let's say I buy it at $6. Okay, so then I put a permanent purchase order at $5.50, because I say to myself, anytime it drops, I will purchase more Neos in order to build another to get more interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will likewise put a permanent sell order at $6.50. So I purchase at $6. I will have a permanent
Purchase at $5.50.
Yeah, purchase at $5.50, sell at $6.50.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I'll have a permanent. So I purchase it at $6. I'll have a permanent buy at $5.50 and a permanent sell at $6.50. So right around my purchase price.
You basically just set up a buy wall, sell wall, and then hope it bounces between that range.
And everyone who's getting interest from the coins, they're all incentivized to do the exact same thing as you do. So then what ends up happening, like if you follow the Dash trend line as well as Monero's and all the other kind of trend lines, you end up with an incredibly stable trend line. Whereas Ethereum, it's all over the place. Bitcoin, it's marginal.
Yeah, Bitcoin's got the deflationary supply. Yeah. So it's
well, in the trend line,
yeah,
it's like up and down and marginal growth.
Right.
And Dash has probably had, for any investor, whereas if we look at it as we probably mostly do in terms of just buying and selling coin, Ethereum's had the best growth, I think. But Dash has probably had the best growth if you were an early investor, because not only did you get the roughly, I'm making up this percent, 2,000% return on investment, but that whole time you've been getting paid an interest rate of 30%. But now, just to clarify on that, 30%, I'm paid 30% Neos coins, right? If the price doubles, then I'm effectively paid 60%. If the price triples, I'm effectively paid 100% return on investment every year.
And if it gets cut in half.
And then if it cuts in half, it's crazy bad. Yeah. Well, and cut in half, then I'm getting 15%.
And then and your underlying
or
assets
maybe.
going down too.
Pardon me?
And your underlying assets going down. You're
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
it's like you're getting a 30% return, but nominal. But if the price is dropped by 50%,
Right.
you're in the hole.
Right. Yeah. So right.
But it'll be varying from year to year.
And
like if you buy 5,000 in margin on Ethereum, buy 5,000
Right.
Ethereum on Kraken, and then you basically leverage that at like 4-to-1 margin. If Ethereum goes down, then you're going to have to add because your starting capital goes down too.
Yeah. So these and also when you think about like Ponzi scheme, blockchains, Dash, Monero, Zcash, and Neos or whatever, they fit kind of more of the model of what people associate with kind of like a Ponzi scheme model. Like for example, if let's pretend I was only focused on Neos or whatever, and I wanted that to be able to collect my 30% interest forever or whatever, then I need to get one person to make an investment in Neos every 3 years.
Gotta leave about 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's
Yeah. But yeah, I just need to get a new person to invest into Neos every 3 years, and then I've done my part.
Yeah.
So then you look at the crypto market, and let's pretend if I was actually trying to get people to invest in Neos, and I was like, hey, you purchase this thing, you get 30% return on your interest rate. That's a pretty easy sell.
Yeah, it's better than what you would get elsewhere. As
Yeah,
long as the underlying assets stabilize.
Right, as long as so it's an easy sell. So the chance that I can do that more than once every 3 years, which is what causes the asset to grow, is super high. I could, if I was actually trying, I'm sure I could, 2 people a year. I might get 6 people over the course of 3 years. So these assets, they end up insanely stable. Their growth pattern is essentially they're a siphon of the blockchain. Like you have your money growing in Ethereum or Bitcoin, and then once you get to a good amount of money, you pop it into Dash, and it becomes stable. Because these coins, they essentially, while they have small spikes, they're really spiky whenever a bunch of people try to run into them real quickly, because there's such a small market for them, because there's no natural demand. The natural demand for Ethereum is all the business people using it. The natural demand for Bitcoin is that it's the crypto dollar. There is no natural demand for Dash. The only demand for Dash is that more people want to purchase $50,000 of Dash and become these little stakeholders.
I guess, yeah. It just seems like, I don't know. It's fascinating to me that it would be a plausible business model, but doesn't it like kind of just if you start off rich, you're basically gonna stay rich?
You mean in general?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, generally speaking, if you're born rich, there's no reason
So
you
it's
should
not really
not
doing
be.
anything to like help the separation.
Oh,
of
no.
society or anything like
Yeah,
that.
the only
So,
thing it does is tor entails, and also it has like an untrackable way of like you acquiring money.
Yeah.
For example, in the Neos coin, I've acquired in my interest rate in like one day, I've acquired $40 of interest in that day, and no one knows I acquired that money. Whereas this Ethereum, it's clear, it's cut and dry. I bought it for less, I sold it for more. I made money on Ethereum. The Neos coin, nobody knows I got this money.
Yeah.
I say it now, but
Yeah.
but
It could be. You don't even know if it's real.
so in theory, like if the Neos, yeah, right, I could be pretending. But in theory, like let's pretend the Neos coin like tripled in value and whatever, and this interest rate went from 15,000 to 50,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I could have $50,000 a year that no one knows that I have.
Right. Yeah.
And that could be a lot of money to avoid reporting on your taxes and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously appealing because that would be like.
Right.
It goes from just a little fun money to like, yeah, that's life changing.
Yeah,
Sure.
not that this is the whole point of these discussions, but so these are kind of like your little options in the crypto marketplace, and I just learned about these kind of investment coins or bank coins.
And look at this chart on Dash. I mean, that's sick. It was like.
No, yeah, and I'll talk about the Dash chart. So, because I do know the Neos.
It's way like that's 500-600% in a few months.
In a few months, and so what people are
For
doing
Bitcoin?
is taking their Ethereum and Bitcoin while it's high, popping it into Dash for safety, and then trying to liquidate out.
And everybody's doing it, so it inherently rises. Is there? And that's another question. When you get to Neo, so like that $35,000 threshold, you start earning interest.
Yeah.
Do you earn if you add another 1,000? Do you earn
No.
interest on 30? So not until you get to 70,000 do you really start earning interest again.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're highly incentivized to maintain. You're incentivized to make a market,
Mm-hmm.
and secondly, you're incentivized to have exactly 5,000. So you're incentivized to constantly sell 40, or whatever.
Right.
Like I get it is 120 free Neos a month.
6 month chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get 120 free Neos a month, and that comes out to like $700 or whatever the case. And since it doesn't benefit me at all, I am of course always to sell it.
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
why you end up, and this is in terms of like benefits to the investor. Investors get upset with the up and down nature of Ethereum, up and down nature of Bitcoin. With Dash and these other similar type of coins, there's only up until it like goes bankrupt. But until that point, it's because it is a bit of a Ponzi. It is. I'm not gonna. There is no function that I know of, no significant function of reasons why you'd buy Dash other than the fact it's proof of stake now
It's just
versus
scarcity.
proof of stake later.
FOMO and scarcity.
Well, the proof of stake is a big deal, and that's the main thing with Ethereum. Like in terms of stabilizing the market value of Ethereum, if you removed the $3 billion or whatever amount of money that they're just throwing away to avoid a $100 million purchase, the market would stabilize of Ethereum extremely quickly, if not, frankly, shoot up quite a lot. But these miners keep causing problems, and then the proof of stake gets delayed, and then they're trying to appease everybody, and that's one. Even though I like Ethereum team a lot more than I like the Tezos team, but the Tezos team is not going to allow miners to get a foothold into their currency at all, which is really a big deal. And then the Ethereum team, they might spend 10,000 hours, this is probably about accurate, 10,000 hours of discussion on how to get away from miners, how to deal with the miners, whereas the Tezos team will spend 0 hours of discussion. Now, what does it require? All you got to do is just say, done. I mean, they can do it in an hour. The technological know-how to get rid of miners for the financial reasons can get done in an hour. True proof of stake, which no one can do that I know of, true proof of stake takes longer. But Ethereum can figure that out without wasting $3 billion in the process. This is my hope.
Yeah.
But I don't even think that'll go down. Even when I talk about the Ethereum community, they're like, you pay those $3 billion, it's really a good investment. It's a really good investment to pay $3 billion for something that costs $100 million. You're
I
like,
gotta go.
holy heck. See ya.
Brent?
Barrett.
Barrett. All right, Barrett.
Good seeing you, Phil.
Nice meeting you.
But yeah, Vitalik hates it, Vlad hates it, all the big guys in Ethereum hate it, but all the like new investors into Ethereum and the old Bitcoiners who are purchasing Ethereum, they're like, mining money is money well spent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Totally
It's
silly.
hard to like. Basically, if you're new to Ethereum, the mining gives you a chance to get on an equal playing field, much more
It could.
so than if someone has been in it since the beginning.
Yeah.
And
On mining,
Mhm.
how much do you have to mine to make it profitable?
He knows about mining a lot. Hey, side note, he was thinking about mining.
yeah, I've actually got
I
a.
got a load on new servers.
Do you? Nice. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can set it up for. What I'm doing right now is GPU mining.
Okay.
And basically just buying high-end GPUs, and I don't know, I'm really starting to collect data. I've just got 3 graphics cards up and going as of today. I've had 2, I guess 4 now, but yeah.
And then you use the GPUs because they're faster, I guess?
Yeah, but well, and the DAG file, like, so right now I'm dual mining Ethereum and SIA coins, and
Yeah.
it writes the JAG file, the miner I'm using, it's called Claymore. It literally writes the DAG file into the GPUs, or the graphics card's RAM.
Okay, and so what's the JAG?
The DAG file is basically like the computations it needs to do. I think something along with the block size. It's 2.5 gigs right now, and so you don't want any graphics cards that are less than 2 gigs in RAM if you're going to mine Ethereum with GPU mining. Now there's CPU mining. You can do SIA coins where you focus on storage. So if you've got a bunch of unused servers and terabytes of space, you probably want to look into SIA coin.
That would probably be a great idea.
.dag,
And then
is that what it's
Gollum.
called? Like DAG?
Oh, that's just with Ethereum. It's called the DAG file. Yeah, and it's basically it's a public file, but it's essentially just like what the miner needs to be able to write and do those computations in the GPU. And you want it to be again in the GPU, not going back and forth to disk.
Okay.
Because I'm using like a Linux pen drive, and the flash drive will
Yeah.
burn out if you do a bunch of writes to it.
So what's your return on it? Like,
Right now, not much. I mean, I've got that's what I was looking up a second ago.
Mhm.
I've got a few. Let's see. So that's my Ethereum, and you can see I just got this second rig up this afternoon.
Oh my
So
god, you
they're
got
jumping
2
off.
rigs? Hold
Yeah,
up.
well, yeah,
Let me take a look.
the it's just the hash rates. Right now, this miner 1 down here at the bottom has got. See how it jumped up right there?
Yes.
This miner 1 has got 3 graphics cards in it, and then that's just the SPH term machines my desktop. And it's got an 8 gig graphics card in it. That way I can mine and do other stuff in the background.
so do you know how much it costs, like, to run it versus how much?
Oh, the power and stuff, I don't know enough that yet. Like I'm doing the math on it, and it's I think 9 cents a kilowatt hour here in Tennessee.
Okay.
And then your power supplies are 860 watt. It's what I'm running 3 graphics cards and my motherboard and everything else off of. And then I'm going to get another 600 watt.
Yeah.
It's going to run the other 3 graphics cards. And so it'll probably be, I don't know, maybe 30 cents an hour. I'm really going to collect data to see what it actually is. And basically look at my power bill from month to month. And then like Keller said, go outside and look at my meter.
Yeah.
Now see how much it's cranking it.
Yeah.
That's.
But
I mean, the thing is, we have like, I don't even know how many damn servers, and we don't need it.
Take a guess.
15, 20.
Okay.
And then we
Yeah.
have a lot of servers that are like, each slot is a 20 gig or 20 terabyte.
Holy
drive.
crap.
oh, dude,
really?
yes.
You got a lot to Terra.
If you got storage space, I would definitely look into SIA coin. I'm still dual mining it, but like you can actually. So with SIA, you can mine SIA coins, you can buy SIA coins directly, or you can actually buy.
Rent.
It's like a storage market. Yeah, you can rent and lease storage, and so you could make. I think it's. I mean, there's a market for it, but it's about 50 SIA coins a terabyte, which isn't much. I mean, that's maybe.
1 penny.
Yeah, 1,000 goes for $14. So 50 is
Okay.
like a 20th of $14.
Okay.
Let's just call it a penny.
So you'd make that per terabyte, but it's per month for not really doing much effort if they're sitting.
You might have 1,000 terabytes. You might end up. Well, it might only come out to like $2 is it a month?
Yeah, per terabyte.
Yeah, for now.
It's not. That's not the mining's more profitable.
see.
GPU mining, and like the break even, I'm expecting 6 to 9 months. I've kind of got a wider range, and as I collect data, that range is going to narrow as to like my expectations. But right now, yeah, I'm expecting break even 6 to 9 months. It's about, well, the better rig was about 4,500, and I think it'll probably be about 500 a month. So
Yeah. The processing, he can rent out the processing too, can't he?
yeah. So that's another thing. I'm looking into CPU mining with like Monero. So there's all these different coins
really?
out there. Yeah.
Monero does CPU.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think Monero, Dash, and Zcash are very
all the
attractive
same.
to mining. Yeah, right now, like if you look at the graphs, I think like I'm kind of like
Yes.
Ethereum's great. I think it's an awesome investment, but it's definitely saturated, and a lot of people have bought it over the last few months.
Well, I personally think at the current market value it's reasonable.
Oh yeah,
But-
I do too.
In terms of long term, the biggest issue will frankly just be, do they make the jump to proof of stake like in 2 months, or do they wait a year and lose $3 billion while they do it?
Right.
And the Ethereum team is talking like they want to wait a year and lose $3 billion rather than do it now, and it's upsetting to me. But I think this is one of the big reasons why you're seeing a lot of people move out, because AntShares is just doing it now. Tezos will do it from day one,
Yeah.
which will come out. It'll be market tradable in a couple of months. So just kind of doing that in terms of for investors, you think of investors as a store of value of money.
Mm-hmm.
Ethereum has been relatively risky as a store of value of money over the last couple weeks at least, but it's been risky the whole time. Just had great rewards on one side.
Most functionality and the best long-term fundamentals, though.
It's got the most functionality, best long-term fundamentals. It's got the best developer teams. It's suffering a little bit of the Bitcoin problem, which is Bitcoin kind of grew real quickly without like a stable, what you could call political structure, and it's allowed Zcash and some Litecoin to step in, and then Bitcoin, Ethereum has grown significantly again without a very stable political structure, and so now things that should not be a debate are becoming year-long debates and humongous losses of funds. So
yeah, and I was looking at this on Wikipedia. They've got a list of the highest funded crowdfunding projects. 10 of the top 12 are now Ethereum blockchain projects, and they're all over about 100 million, or well, let's see, 60 million, I guess. Well, when you get to Aragon, it's 25 million, but still, the fact is that, I mean, that says something right there. If the top 10 out of 12 are Ethereum, because they don't have Tezos on here, but it's obviously over 200 million. So
are you saying just what kind of crowd funded?
Anything. So like this is blockchain. There's some video game. Star Citizen's got a Kickstarter, but most of them.
But people are donating through.
Yeah, the Ethereum blockchain. It shows you how much money is pouring into this technology and this market space, this industry.
Okay.
And I think, and that's why I think, Ethereum's great. It's got the best long-term fundamentals, but so much money and so much investment is poured in over the last few months that it might be why some of the sell-offs happening right now.
Yeah, I feel you. I think it's a good idea at a minimum to put a buy order at 250, but then again,
I'm with you. I
thought the same thing with a buy order at 270.
Yeah.
So, how low will it go? I don't know. I think 280 was the value that I put at what I would call 280 was the value that I thought it would not fall below, and I don't think like a few weeks from now or whatever, I don't think it'll be below 280. But who knows?
Do you ever tie up capital in hopes of like a flash crash and like I don't know?
Right. I should more. In terms of like where do you want to tie up capital? Because that's the main issue I had. I don't want to tie up capital in dollars, because that's a poor decision to make. If I was more aware of the blockchain technology, what I was, now granted I like Vitalik, I'm comparing myself to him, but I'm just playing there, but he invested in this stuff, and he's been talking and planning as if this stuff is like 2-3 years away from becoming a major player in the marketplace, whereas 4 months after he said that, everybody became millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
But I, like him, thought that the blockchain stuff would take a much longer time to develop, so I thought I had more time to invest at a slower rate into Ethereum.
Yeah.
So I invested quite heavily, or relatively heavily, early, and then it got up to $400, and I didn't sell any, and I should have.
Well, hindsight's 20/20, yeah.
Hindsight. But the issue was, if I sold it, at the time I would have bought dollars, and that's a bad decision. So knowing what I know now,
You shouldn't on Litecoin, man.
well, yeah, knowing what I know now, I would have either purchased some Bitcoin for stability,
Yeah.
or what I would prefer to do, and what I think is a better decision, is to buy Dash, Monero, Zcash.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% there.
The bank coins.
Yeah.
Whenever your coin spikes and it's a good time to sell, but you don't know what else to buy,
Mm-hmm.
just get a lump of the bankers' coins, and then they just provide so much market stability. Their prices don't spike. Like Ethereum, when everybody was trying to buy Ethereum, it went from 40 to 200 or 40 to 400 really in a very, very short time. The bankers' coins, or the Zcash and stuff, anytime it goes up, it will go right back down really quickly.
Yeah.
Anytime it goes down, it'll go right back up really quickly. So they're just a very linear, effectively, growth pattern. So they're a great place to just store money. So that's why in terms of investing, even though these coins are a little bit you could call it Ponzi-like, but if your only goal is to invest and not really follow the market at all, and leave it for a long time, I would probably feel most comfortable buying Dash or something like that. You got to set up your node, which is a little bit confusing if you don't know how to do that, but I would set up my node, and then that would probably lead to the most stable amount of profits with the easiest exit strategy.
Yeah.
Without any real market fluctuation.
Well, and I think if it does go anywhere, it's more likely to go up than down. And on most of these technologies, especially on Zcash, Monero, and Dash, and Neos too, probably. Yeah.
Well, all these things, I just call them the bank coins. So like I said, for every one person, like for Neos in particular, for every one person who chooses to invest in it and bank on it, they have to convince one person every 3 years to buy Neos. That's a relatively easy sell. For Dash, they pay 15%, I believe, or 10%. It's less than 30%.
Yeah.
But for Dash, you have to convince one person to buy Dash every 10 years. So, and I'm just saying to make it a stable coin. So the odds are, if I was doing Dash, I could probably, considering it's much bigger than Neos, I could probably convince 6 people to buy Dash every single year.
Right.
For the next 3 years, which would create a return of roughly 18 times what I currently have. I mean, that's fantastic. With Ethereum, you can't do anything like that, because the only reason that you tell people to buy Ethereum is, guess what new technology is coming out? Which is great, but...
So, when you sign someone up, how is your return multiplying exactly?
It's just 30%. So I just get free Neos, free Dash, free coin.
Yeah, you're getting the 30% for having the 35K investment, but like if you sign up 2 people before the end of the year, how does your return go up to 60 or 90?
You provide the market. My return doesn't go up. I might have some kind of little bonus system, I don't really know, for referrals.
That's what I was going to say. Like, it really is a pyramid scheme.
No, there might be a bonus system for referrals, but that's not the real issue. The real issue is the marketplace.
Okay.
So everyone who does this, they're all highly incentivized to stabilize the marketplace.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're always going to, as soon as you make a Dash purchase, you're always going to have a huge buy order, a little bit below you bought it for, and a huge sell order a little bit above what you bought it for. And so what you'll end up doing is so let's pretend no one new came into the Neos marketplace. And let's pretend only the people who are invested in Neos currently are the only people who will be there forever.
Right.
Well, then the market for the coins would drop insane.
Because eventually people are going to start selling out because they're going to realize then volume's not increasing, and then be like, well, I don't want to be bag holding on this coin if nobody is adopting it anymore.
Not exactly. It's different than that because you're again comparing it to Ethereum or whatever.
Yeah.
But in the Neos kind of in these types of coins,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll mostly talk about Dash.
Yeah.
Right. But let's just pretend we were the initial investors. There's no new investors, and whatever. So there's no incentive to have more than, I'm going to call it 50,000. There's no incentive to have 55,000. You don't earn a bigger bonus. 50 is your max,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no incentive to have 45. Only exactly 50.
Right.
And you're paid, let's just call it 15,000 every year for having in terms of new coins.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to take this $15,000 of Dash that you got and sell it all the time,
Right.
which will cause the price to like go down insane, and then you're done. But if you get 30% of people, if you get new investors to purchase all your Dash,
that's what
coins.
raises the price back up so that you can sell down again when you get your
Yes.
next payout.
Yes, so your interest rate, the people who pay your interest rate are new investors.
Gotcha.
And so that's where it becomes Ponzi-like. But also, you can think of just in terms of banking and growth, like, yeah, of course I wish Ethereum set up a system more similar to this from the start.
Mm-hmm.
ANS and Neocoin will from the start, and then Tezos will from the start as well. And this is a humongous factor in terms of stabilizing market value, setting these quantities that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
With no real ability to like, I have no benefit to holding 4,500 Neos or whatever.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the marketplace for these coins, since everyone's selling all the ones that they can all the time and buying all the ones necessary to equal exactly 50 and then never again, the marketplace for these things, it basically just becomes a great marketplace.
Yeah.
Like if you it becomes a little bit
liquid
thin.
because there's people always buying and selling. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit, and it becomes a little bit thin. So like in Ethereum, people can buy and sell 500 at a time or whatever, or 20 or 10 or 1 Ethereum. And these other ones, you're always selling more or less all the ones you can, and then buying all the ones before if it dips too low.
Yeah.
So like with Dash and with Neos and some other coins and stuff, you'll see spikes where it goes up 20% in 1 week. It will more or less 100% guaranteed go back down a day later. So if you wanted to put like, you know, if you wanted to put a margin sell on Dash right now, that's probably not a bad idea.
It's tremendously lately.
It's spiked
Yeah.
over the last 2 or 3 days as people have moved out of Ethereum and Bitcoin into Dash a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's almost guaranteed to go back down because there's people who've been looking to sell their Dash.
Right. Yeah. All these people that are getting their stake basically.
Right.
They
Yeah.
want to sell it at this opportunity.
Yeah. But it's a different type of mining. Are you trying to get onto the Coinbase?
I can't. Is the short answer.
Yeah, a 24-hour.
Well, tomorrow. Well, I had to change my bank account. I had multiple people connected to the bank account.
Oh crap! Weird.
Yeah.
I never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, I didn't know they were like that. Yeah, Coinbase is pretty much how I always get coins from fiat. But then I don't even really. The problem with Coinbase is it's not a true exchange. I feel like I'm just paying whatever price they give me.
Oh God.
But
I hate it.
yeah, is there any other way to convert fiat to?
Not that I've looked into. I know there's better ways. There's not ways that I've used. But
Yeah,
there are better
I've been
ways.
trying to get verified on Kraken for tier 3, but I've been waiting on that for a month or something now. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think if you get tier 3, they'll let you deposit fiat, U.S. dollars.
Yeah. The main issue is that you want to put limit buy and limit sell
Mm-hmm.
on everything you have.
Yeah,
and
I never
Coinbase does
market
not allow that.
Right.
I could actually set up. I got the new bank account.
Oh sweet.
I could actually set up and just put like a few dollars in there. If that would work.
Yeah. I mean, well, eventually, yeah.
Any
You'll
transfer
have
is good just
So
to
that I
like make
can-
sure it works.
Well, the
Yeah.
thing is, I have money in an account that needed to link to my bank account.
Yeah.
And there was multiple users, so I can't do that until at least tomorrow. I
Yeah.
changed,
Oh, sure, that's fine.
but
Yeah.
and then, but I still need to set up Ethereum so that when that money does get in there, I can put some money in there.
Yeah, and like so, you'll buy. Are you planning once you get your verification and stuff approved on Coinbase? Are you going to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin first? Do you know?
Don't know, probably Ethereum.
Okay.
And then, or is it what is it you do? You buy Bitcoin and then transfer it to Ethereum?
You can buy
Coinbase will
you
let
can buy
buy
Ethereum from
directly,
Coinbase. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like if Ethereum's kind of your end token, I would just buy it directly and then put it in your wallet. And has he kind of talked to you a little bit about the wallet?
Just a little. You can.
Yeah, basically you just want to set up a wallet that's not on one of the exchanges. That way, if they go down or get hacked or something, then you got control of your coins, not them saying, "Oh, we own these private keys." But yeah, basically once you get your Ethereum wallet set up, then you can transfer it off the exchange onto your wallet, and then you've got full control of those Ethereum. And you can, if you want to keep trading it, you could transfer it to another exchange. But if you're trying to make a long-term investment in Ethereum, that's probably the safer way to just transfer it to a wallet off.
Okay.
When you recommend it?
Well. I fully agree with that. Depending on basically your computer savvy and how much you're investing, Coinbase is a lot easier to use.
Yeah.
So-
When you're
so I'll
first
just
starting
clarify
off,
that.
and they're very reputable. I don't see Coinbase going down or getting hacked.
Yeah.
They're the number one U.S. exchange by far.
By a long shot.
But eventually, like my Ether wallet's kind of the intermediary step, and that's actually what I'm doing. I don't have the actual Ethereum GUI or wallet downloaded because I don't want to download the whole blockchain on my computer.
I know, right?
It
Yeah.
takes up size. But
Oh my god.
How big is it?
It's not too bad.
Is
but
it really?
It's not too bad, but I want to say it's near 100 gig.
Yeah, that's
It's-
big.
it- and the other issue is like if I was doing BitTorrents and movies and stuff, I could download 100 gig in like 5 hours. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh yeah. 20 movies or something would easily be.
Yeah, but
especially
for-
if they're 4K or something.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, the 100 gig from Ethereum, in order to download it, it will take, like, you can do it if you're lucky in 4 or 5 hours if you get the right computer. Some computers, it'll let you, some computers, it will let you download, but it will never finish. It'll
Yeah.
only let you download 95% of it, and then your computer is just not powerful enough to finish it. And then people will let their computers run for 2-3 weeks at a time, and they still won't finish after 3 weeks. So, and I've downloaded the entire blockchain, and once you download it, you're not allowed to do the quick method anymore, which is the 4-hour method. You can get it done in 4 hours if you have the right a gaming computer with a separate graphics card. But I'm not allowed to do that anymore. So for me to catch up, because I've not been running my Ethereum.
Yeah, you gotta sync to all the blocks
Yeah.
that are updated.
I have to do the slow method now. It will take me probably 2 days to catch up, and I'm a week. I just haven't had it on for like a week.
So why is it so big?
Because that's all the transactions.
It's mostly about how slow it transfers. But
but it's literally like every transaction on Ethereum since the beginning of time. That's the whole reason these cryptocurrencies work, is because there's no central authority saying, all right, you gave me money and I gave you money. There's cryptographical proof, there's mathematical proof, and they're the third party that verifies the transfer essentially.
Yeah.
And so basically it's called a public ledger or a blockchain. Every transfer that's ever happened in the history of the currency's in that, and so you have to download every single one of them. You don't know who owns what accounts, but you've got now every record of every transfer
you got
that ever happened.
everything that's ever happened ever.
So, I mean, I see an obvious problem with that.
Well,
huge,
here,
yeah.
I'll throw one out. Is IOTA. IOTA is a coin. Not near as popular as these others, but it's got $1 billion in market value, so it's quite a bit still, even though it's gone down.
Right.
But IOTA is not going to use a blockchain. It's going to assume that enough people have it on all the time, that it's not necessary to store historical data, only current data.
Yeah. And again, most people are not actually going to interact with the actual real blockchain themselves and the GUI themselves. They're going to use like a third-party light wallet or some other service like Coinbase that's going to interact with that chain that's built on top of it.
Yeah.
So they don't have to download the whole thing. And like if you're thinking about like Internet of Things and like mass scalability and lots of devices and stuff, there's definitely going to happen because not every device has that much storage. So.
Yeah, all these Bitcoins and Ethereums, they're like designed as if a government might try to shut it down, and then you need to reboot after like 3 days of off time.
Yeah, and every node's got the whole transaction. So if you take out all the computers hosting Bitcoin in the U.S., well, you've still got all these nodes in Germany and wherever else. So.
And then people talk about giving you like let's pretend the government was to shut down Bitcoin, and then they launched another thing which was called MIC Bitcoin, but they said MIC Bitcoin was the MIC coin. They said no, this is actually Bitcoin. Bitcoin is actually MIC Bitcoin. You guys are all wrong. Bitcoin is fake. There's no way to prove it except for this humongous blockchain.
Yeah, it's a cryptographical. Like, are you familiar with like Merkle trees and cryptographic?
That's crazy. Yeah.
Only a very small amount.
Basically, like you have your hash function, right? And it takes some sort of input string and makes a certain output string that's a fixed length. And so, like with Bitcoin, I think it's 256 bits. It's probably something different for Ethereum. But anyways, you got your whole string that goes into it.
Oh, it's about the same.
And then it basically is, okay, so then it's going to put out 256 bits. So the first two transfers are going to basically spit out that. And then it's going to append that to the next string. And then it's going to basically, and it keeps hashing that and making it down. But you can verify, all right, I got to this because of this. I got to this because of this. Yes. And so that's why it's like a chain. They're linked all the way down.
Yes.
And so the cryptographical input of this last one couldn't have been achieved until you had the output from the one before it.
Yes.
And that's what chains them up.
Mm-hmm. And you can sort of think about it, even though there's easier ways to think about it, but you could think about it as all these keys or whatever, they're effectively like a 256.
Yeah.
They're 256-bit mathematical formula. So like 1 plus 2 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, and then the answer is, let's just call it 5.
Yeah.
Right? And then the question is, what is the 256 numbers that you use to equal 5? Well, if the answers were limited to 1 through 9, then you have like a 10% chance of just throwing any formula together and getting it correct.
Yeah, your collision rate. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So then what they do is they say, well, the answer is going to be a hash is like 10 digits.
Yeah,
20
something
digits.
like
Yeah, but a hash is something like let's just call it 1 trillion.
Yeah.
Let's just call it 1 trillion.
Right, some arbitrary number.
Yeah, some arbitrary number. So they then say what are the 256 numbers that equal 9 trillion 5,000 and whatever.
Basically trying to reverse engineer the output.
Yeah, so your collision rate is super low, and it's super hard to reverse engineer it. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's going to be some collisions out there because you've got infinite number of possible inputs and only 256-bit outputs.
Yes.
But the good thing about these cryptographic algorithms is that they're designed to be low collision and very, very... Yeah. And that's essentially why they're successful, is they're so low collision.
Bitcoin and Ethereum, you'd have to have something equivalent to 1 million accounts for every single human on Earth before you start having collisions, like natural collisions or whatever.
Yeah, it's right. That's insane. Like,
yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So that's why it's so big. It's because there's so much data being input, and you literally have to download the entire transaction history for whatever coin you're mining or whatever wallet you're trying to keep. So yeah, it's more convenient for a lot of people to basically use other apps and services built on top of it until you're familiar with it. But again, that's always got an inherent risk that service or app could go offline and they take your coins with it.
So, side note though, I do think IOTA's, in terms of purchasing, I think IOTA's I think it's a reasonable buy. It's gone nothing but down. I'll clarify. It's done nothing but down.
$1 billion IPO.
$1 billion ICO, yeah. I like the plan for IOTA. I think in terms of what you said, the idea that you have to download the entire blockchain is such a pain in the butt, and the idea that someone has to store it at a minimum.
Yeah.
Even Vitalik doesn't like to do it either. Vitalik was talking about the weaknesses of Ethereum, and he said one of the weaknesses was downloading the entire blockchain. But he kind of expressed it more in terms of he was kind of saying something like there needs to be some way of just being like, hey, this data is like 10 years old, hasn't been touched in 2 years, let's get rid of it. Basically all your historical data, whereas there's no way to get rid of historical data now.
I think they could still keep compressing it down into Merkle trees. Like, I don't understand why they can't just basically say, all right, let me keep doing that, and then keep making it a 256 output, and that way it stays 200.
Yeah.
And it's only verifiable by, again, going back through.
Yeah.
So.
So what would you think would be the best for data mining?
I would.
Processor mining? Using your processor to mine?
Well, servers, CPUs.
Yeah.
CPUs, probably Monero right now. I haven't done
Monero?
a lot of
Okay,
research.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if you've got a lot of CPU resources, yeah.
Yeah.
Could you set them up on that, or no?
Probably, yeah. I'm actually going to try to set up a CPU miner on my desktop when I go home. I think it's minexmr.com. It's the one I'm looking at right now. But it's just like a config file, essentially, after you download the miner.
I can show you what we have and see, because...
yeah, sure, I'll take a look.
Yeah, because I'm in the process of moving a lot of things.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you local around town, or...?
He can also help sell your crap a little, too.
Yeah, maybe so.
He does some eBay.
You do a lot of eBay with it?
Yeah, well, that's what I've been doing lately, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Maybe you can show me some of that.
That's where I've been buying all this mining rig equipment, yeah.
Okay.
Because I can't find the graphics cards on any, like, legit retail
What are you doing this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Probably free, yeah.
I got a whole evidence room full of...
Nice, yeah. I'll take a look for sure.
This size or bigger.
And he's got fiber, too.
Yeah,
Not that matters for mining, really, but...
Every little bit helps, and that's,
Yeah, anything to pay that internet bill would be good, too.
Yeah.
Right. So what, out of curiosity, what are you using the fiber connection for?
We're not.
Okay.
We had a previous account that we required fiber and required basically NSA level security, and so we have all of it, but we don't have the account, so we have this equipment left over.
Don't use it.
I can get fiber here, but it's a 2-year contract, $500 a month.
It's just not worth it unless you're doing something that requires it. Like
Chattanooga, it's $50 for fiber.
Yeah, they've got EPB there.
What about Morristown?
It's $50 for fiber,
Yeah,
or like $100.
Well, they got like a station up there. They got a huge.
Oh, EPB. Chattanooga's.
No, Morristown.
They have it. Well,
they have
there's
their
one in
own
Chattanooga
local?
and Morristown.
So Morristown was able to.
They snuck in under the radar.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just moved to Tennessee a few months ago, so I don't really know how the laws work. I understand that what's her name, the Blackburn senator is apparently poster child for the cable lobbyists.
There's
and then
no
you
reason.
have Chattanooga, which is the poster child for not the opposite. Basically.
Yeah, there's no reason to even think about internet competitor. Morristown did it, and Morristown was trying to expand into Knoxville.
Yeah.
And then Governor Haslam, who's from Knoxville, he stepped in and said Knoxville is not allowed to compete with Comcast. You have to only use Comcast. And he got the state attorney to go sue the Morristown fiber people. And just to be clear, I'm paying $100 for 15 megabytes, or 1/100th of a fiber connection. Is that right? Yeah, 1/100th. I pay $100 for 1/100th of a fiber connection, 1% of a fiber connection, whereas most people pay where they have fiber, they pay $100 for 100% of the fiber connection.
Yeah.
I pay the same price for 1% of it.
There's no doubt about it. Anybody with a fiber connection is getting a better value per megabyte.
Oh no, it's insane, and my internet is totally crap, and all this crap. My business internet, I talked to Comcast about it. They said your business internet is only set up to have 2 people on it. I go, you sell a business package of internet that's designed for 2 people, 2 computers? They're like, yeah, everybody else should not use a computer at the same time. Only 2 on the computer at once. 2 computers in your entire business. And I got a little pissy with them, and they go, well, you can start paying $250 a month for 2% of the fiber output. And I go, and I was just, you want me to pay $250 a month for 2% of fiber, and this is in order to have 5 people on the internet at once. I go, I'm just like, I'm not going to reward you for your extortionist BS, because apparently they signed some contract with the state of Knoxville in Tennessee that said all the citizens of Knoxville will be effectively slaves to Comcast, paying them a rate of $100 a month for something that costs. People don't know this, but it costs roughly 50 cents to $1 a month to maintain it. The only thing you're paying for is the initial install, which is like $2,000, $5,000. But
that's why it should be like a utility, because the massive barriers to entry. Like, it's not your typical industry where you can be like, all right, I want to sell lemonade. I'm going to go set up a lemonade shop. You get like infrastructure.
If you allowed people to enter it, then you would have actually a lot of entries.
But then you'd have telephone poles with like 50 lines. I mean,
I feel you. I feel you.
I
feel you. But everybody's putting all the lines underground now.
Yeah.
But
still.
But the main reason internet is so expensive is because the citizens effectively were contracted out to the corps at some point in time, and so all the citizens of Tennessee have a contract with one corporation, which is Comcast. And anyone who competes against Comcast, unless they have approval from the governor, they won't let you do it. So they'll let Nashville, the state capital, get Google Fiber or whatever they're going to get.
Yeah, I know they drag their feet on that. Google Fiber had to basically pull some tricks and jump through some hoops to make that happen too.
Yeah, you gotta threaten some people. So like that's the issue with fiber is you could have fiber. A lot of people in America could have fiber today. If there was not these contracts that were like put in place that sold the citizens to Comcast for X amount of dollars, like these 500,000 citizens of Knoxville were sold for $100 a month to Comcast,
and then
for 1% of fiber.
I guess
internet.
the ironic thing is that they like basically marketed to the public as if like you don't want communism, don't let government control the internet take hold in your community. Make sure it's private, slow as Christmas and expensive.
Side note: this is the same argument that they use with Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah.
You don't want Ethereum spending $100 million. You want to pay $3 billion to avoid the communism. And you're like, no, you don't. Capitalism is about doing smart shit. It's not about throwing money to somebody for some idea that doesn't make a bit of sense.
Well, it's just the best allocations. But anyways, not neutrality aside. Back to crypto. Yeah, I think bandwidth is valuable, but it's probably least. I would say in the current market, the way I'm seeing it, like is GPU resources are number one, CPU resources, storage drives, and then bandwidth would probably be like the value resources. But you said you got CPU resources, so
I'm assuming,
yeah. I think, especially if y'all are doing lots of data mining, we all like crunching
servers. They're servers.
Were they like SQL servers or like database type stuff, or
database type stuff?
Then they
storage and transfer of files to a bridge.
Okay, then
so if you hack all these, you might be able to build you a nuclear.
Woohoo!
No, they took all their data back. They replaced them with.
Really?
They took them all back.
They literally replaced them.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
They don't even trust.
We have none of their data.
They don't even trust. What did Hillary use? Do you recall? What is the program?
I forgot. Yeah, but they have
Bitcracker.
Yeah, Bit Eraser or something like that.
Yeah. Hillary used Bit Eraser on her servers, and Oak Ridge won't even trust Bit Eraser.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only way to make sure that they don't have the data is to either like take physical possession or like drill through the hard drive, right? Have you ever done,
you can use Bit Eraser to work. Those types of things, like what they'll do is they'll just write.
7 passes,
a bunch of
military
passes.
Grade,
It's military grade 7 passes. Okay, yeah. So that's what these things do. So it sort of works, but for a casual consumer, you gotta just burn it. Drill Yeah, and they actually for a CIA they say you got to pulverize.
Really?
You got to drill it and then run it over with a concrete pulverizer or something.
After you drill it, I don't know how you could dare reconstruct it, but I guess it's possible.
Yeah,
But
you can get some data.
Like I've heard there's a degausser, I don't know how you say that.
I don't know.
I've read about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I'll be happy to take a look and see what we can get going. I'm gonna start. There's other coins out there that do like CPU mining and other things. It just depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I think Ethereum, the mining community, is more decentralized. Like Litecoin and Bitcoin let you use ASICs to mine. That's a big game changer.
I mean, calling it "let you" is kind of a questionable thing.
They designed the algorithm to allow it, I guess.
Yes. Well. Okay, let's clarify.
Mm-hmm.
So the algorithm was designed before, and then ASICs came after, specifically to crack this one algorithm.
Right.
And then Ethereum intentionally made it so that the Bitcoin algorithm crackers would not work with Ethereum.
By doing the ETH hash, is there
Something
algorithm?
like that? Yeah, ETH hash. Yeah.
Okay.
So Bitcoin did not design itself for ASICs. ASICs designed itself for Bitcoin.
And so ASICs can do anything that's like a PoW hash algorithm?
Actually, no. I mean, it can do. ASICs can essentially only do Bitcoin and Litecoin.
Okay.
No other coins will use ASICs. Essentially.
Because they've programmed them to not allow the ASICs.
Yeah, they've programmed them to not allow the ASICs, and the reasons they do that is in terms of 51% attack.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bitcoin starts off with, I'll just call it 10,000 computers. So Bitcoin starts off with 10,000 computers. So if I have Litecoin and I'm trying to challenge Bitcoin or whatever, Litecoin, new coin, or whatever, and I'm trying to use the same computers that Bitcoin does, but I only have 100 computers, well,
Bitcoin is just going to buy 101 and put you out of business?
Well, they already have 10,000 that can do the exact same thing.
Ah, okay.
So they already have 10,000. So any minute, any hour, they can just switch over and kill your coin whenever they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's insanely unstable. It's insanely risky because there's a known group of people whose their whole objective is effectively to do 51% attacks. So what do?
To leverage power, yeah.
Yeah, what do? You make sure that those guys can't attack you. And at the very least, you have something of a decentralized attack against you.
Huh. So that's why like F2 pool and Ant pool, they always get a seat at the table and that's why there's no consensus right now because they have so much power at this point. And that's probably why Tezos doesn't want them.
Yeah, Tezos won't even let them a foot in the door. Like Ethereum gave them a foot in the door. There's whatever the reason that Tezos can get around them, Ethereum can do the exact same thing today. And the foundation wants to, because not that they hate miners, but the main initial thought process of Ethereum was to get away from miners.
Yeah.
This was like kind of one of the genesis of Ethereum. But so this is what their whole goal is. But the reason that Ethereum won't do it in 2 months from now, the only reason is because these miners are so damn disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they're like Comcast. They say, hey man, you signed a deal with the devil a long time ago. We own you now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's, I guess, once they have the control, once they have that hash power, they're basically the ones that are running and supporting your network. And so, they're huge stakeholders at that point.
They do become huge stakeholders. And then I was trying to think about something else at the miner. Oh, the other thing is they own a lot of your coins.
Yeah.
Now, miners typically liquidate constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in terms of Bitcoin is like the crypto dollar. Bitcoin is the crypto dollar, effectively. Yeah. So there's a huge in and out market for Bitcoins. Because anytime I want to buy Neos, I have to take my Ethereums, sell into Bitcoin, sell my Bitcoin, buy Neos. So I always have to go in and out of Bitcoin. But then Ethereum, it's not a crypto dollar. It helps in some regard, but for all these Augur, Sia, and et cetera, Gollum, mm-hmm. It works for those like 10 coins, but not the other 200 or 1,000 really. But so there's not a big constant purchase market of Ethereum.
Yeah. So
the miners effectively, every time they get, a lot of people misinterpret and they assume that these miners hold on to the coins. Like you know what, we really like Ethereum and we're investors.
I think that's definitely happening right now.
That's absolutely not true. As soon as a miner gets a coin, they sell it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's one of the downward pressures. Is that there's so many people mining Ethereum and there's so many people that are selling it insta.
Yeah, Ethereum's paying out like 15% roughly, 15% of a year in terms of to the miners, and they're constantly selling.
Yeah.
And they never buy, of course, because the next day they get 1,000 more Ethereums, or whatever the case.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that constant sell of Ethereum is killing the market, unfortunately, but there it is. And then the other thing they like to do is they like to just torture the market. Like the Bitcoin miners, like 3 or 4 months ago, because they were unhappy with the Bitcoin discussions, one of the miners took roughly $400,000, maybe $200,000, and he just sent a penny back and forth, paying $1 to send the penny back and forth each time. But he did this. He wasted $200,000 to do this. And since the network can only take like 30 transactions a time or whatever, and he issued like 100,000 transactions all at once, everyone who wanted to send Bitcoins had to pay double the rate to start with. And then likewise, everyone who was sending Bitcoins, instead of getting it verified in 30 minutes, they were getting it verified in 2 hours or 3 days or not at all.
Yeah.
And then the social consumer, who is, let's just say, effectively ignorant on the issues, what they will do is they'll just be like, oh my gosh, the network is bad, we need more miners. Because they don't understand how it works. And so they're like, the network's bad, we need more miners. Or the last thing we need to do is disrupt things now. Everything's always already topsy-turvy. Let's not make any changes now.
I'm thinking about that. Like, as a miner, another thing he did when he did that is like he
filled out the blocks.
Right. And so, but if he's paying $1 to make a transaction go through, he's made it so that if you actually want your legitimate transaction, you've got to go $1.01 in transaction fee. So basically you raise, he pole vaulted the price of the transaction fee price. And since he's a miner,
it goes right back in.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a no-cost way to improve your investment returns. But it's terrible for the market, but people always talk about these miners as if they don't have an incentive to make money. And it's really crazy because they have warehouses and warehouses and warehouses and crews of people and staff 24/7, and maybe $20 million or more in investments.
Oh yeah.
And then people say these guys are a charity case. They kind of say, hey, we should just have a charity raise for the miners. And you're like, why don't we have a charity raise for the Walton family?
Yeah.
It would be equally logical. Or Trump. Let's do a charity raise for Trump or something.
Right.
These are people who you shouldn't, when you think about who you should give charity to, you shouldn't give charity to the, million richest people in the world or whatever the case.
Right, yeah. And honestly, like, they're the ones that have the hardware now, and they're basically, they're controlling the hash power. They're the ones, if you think that proof of stake is controlling it in the hands of the wealthy, like the miners have all the wealth. It's all of the...
Some people will say, like, proof of stake, the wealthy will control it, which I will just say is relatively true. But it's more fair than, like, Bitcoin is effectively controlled by about 10 people.
Right. There's a threshold, and like, everybody above that threshold is controlling everything, essentially, as far as the hash powers go, and like the mining,
Yeah. So Bitcoin is effectively controlled by about 10 people. This is ignoring the markets, ignoring all the people. So like, let's pretend the miners were just totally terroristic.
Yeah.
And they decided to change the Bitcoin and make a new Bitcoin. And this new Bitcoin just killed all your money and made it so that the miners had all the money.
Right.
Well, there'd be no marketplace, there'd be no consumer, blah, blah, blah. So there's reasons that they can't, like, constantly terrorize everybody all the time, or do it in such a way that it's completely traceable and very obvious back to them.
Yeah.
But they can always do things, like, basically at all points in time, they can always do things like, hey, give us another 1% of your Bitcoins, or we're going to disrupt it for everybody. And then you say, well, how much do you have invested in Bitcoin, man? And they will be like, none. I have no Bitcoins. I just want 1% of your Bitcoins. or because of your systems or whatever, I will start to terrorize you now. I will deliver the mail a minute late.
So with the mining of the bitcoins,
Yeah.
essentially you get like a percentage or something eventually.
You get 5% of all the bitcoins
that you transact.
Is paid to the miners every year.
Every year, so you got to hold out for a year before you get.
Well, it's daily, but
there's a variable. Yeah, there's two parts to the equation. So
Yeah.
there's that part that's he's talking about that's guaranteed.
The
You're going to
bonus.
get no matter what. But there's also each block you solve, and like I guess this is kind of where I'm learning about it. But
yeah.
Everybody does a proof of work. Everybody has to solve a mathematical problem, and each proof of work they solve gets them kind of like a raffle ticket, basically.
Okay.
And then each block is going to say, all right, this raffle ticket's the winner. And you say, oh, I know how that you got that output. You did it with this input. And they say, yes, you solved the block. You get the reward. You get the. And I think it's right now. It's only 12.5. When Bitcoin first came out, there was a block reward of 50. And then
12.5 what percent?
12.5 bitcoins.
Okay, out of per solution
or per block you solve. And this would take like a warehouse full of ASICs to solve it at this point.
To solve one solution.
To solve one block. And each block's probably got like 1 megabyte of transactions in it. So each transaction is probably like, a kilobyte if that. And so each one's adding up and adding up and adding up until it finally gets that block. Once that block's filled, then it's going to create that megabyte in that block. And whoever I think solves that or gets the right proof of work raffle ticket essentially gets the reward for that block.
So is it a situation where you're working? Is it brute force or can you write your own algorithms to solve it?
Well, it's brute force, but it's on a specific timer.
Okay.
So no matter how much force you apply to Bitcoin, it's going to be 10 minutes. No matter how little you apply to Bitcoin, it will be 10 minutes.
Well, that makes sense. What do you mean?
So these blocks or whatever, they sort of calculate Bitcoin is designed to calculate the amount of computers that are doing it or whatever, and it essentially will only let it solve every 10 minutes. Whichever block is solved on the 10-minute mark, that's the one.
So you'd have no incentive to have a faster computer?
No.
Well,
there is. Like, basically,
you compete with each other.
Right. And that's why there's mining pools now, because whoever solves that block the fastest and announces to the rest of the blockchain, hey, I've got the block. This is what the input was to get this output. And everybody else says, all right, I looked at that. That's cryptographically verified. That's the output. That's the input that got this output. Then you have basically verification. They say, you know what, you got the reward. And like we're saying, Bitcoin started off being 50, 25, and now it's, I think, 12.5 Bitcoins to solve a block. And it, like when he was saying, when it first started off in 2009, you could solve it like that because there weren't that many transactions in the block. And it wasn't as big and there wasn't as much going on.
But people aren't writing code to solve it faster.
Not really.
I don't think so.
No,
I think
really.
it's a random algorithm in general, and that's what the miners are doing. Like the actual mining software, I just download the miner and let it run. I don't know how it's working to solve the.
There's like, so in terms of writing code to solve it faster, they are building computers to solve it faster and cheaper. So like the computers that you and I buy, which can be used to play Windows and play video games and do all this other kind of crap, and maybe a Bitcoin computer would cost $2,000 or whatever. I mean, a regular computer that could solve Bitcoin would cost $2,000. The Chinese Bitcoin ASIC computers, they cost about $500, and they run maybe a fifth of the power that you do.
Yeah, I mean, they're dedicated to solely, like, it's basically just like an appliance you plug in, and it just powers up and starts solving the things. But it's got predetermined, ROM chips that basically tell it all its instructions.
Yeah, so faster computers. So then what it does is, in terms of like who it gives the block to, if there's 100 people running the computers, then it says they all have an equal chance of giving the block. If one of those people is running a computer twice as fast as the others, then he gets 2% of the chance, or whatever, and everybody else still gets 1%. If one person was running a computer that's 100 times faster than the rest, then he would have, it'd be like 50-50 or whatever.
Yeah, here's a graph of the current block size on Bitcoin, and like see how it's fluctuating. This guy up here, he got the same block reward as someone down here, and this person only had to put 0.65 megabytes in their block, and this person had to do almost a full meg to get the same reward. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so it just depends on how much, kind of the luck of the draw. If you're solving the block at like 3 in the morning, you probably have less transactions in it than you do at like 10 a.m. American business time or something, right? Or I don't know. I guess it's China.
So what now? Oh yes. No, you're right.
Because I was showing him, like, see how the
totally.
blocks, because basically even though it's varying, this is the block size in Bitcoin.
Okay,
so
right.
5 coins
Yes.
is worth.
That's cool.
Is worth what, like
5 Bitcoins?
12
Yeah, $15,000.
Yeah.
Okay, because a Bitcoin's worth what? How much?
2,600.
25.
Okay, I was thinking worth $300. Okay.
That would have been nice.
Man, you're 4 months ago, dude.
Okay, so then you get.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can figure you get 12 grand a year based on.
Yeah, if you
That's
can mine
crazy, dude.
Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin, again, the block reward's 12.5 Bitcoins. So if you somehow have the computing power to mine 1 block, if you just happen to solve it in that 10 minutes, that's boom, 12.5 Bitcoins times $2,500 for 10 minutes worth of work. But the problem is that you're competing with warehouses in China that have these ASICs and all this other computer power. So what you pretty much have to do if you're mining anything profitably, you have to join a pool where you share resources, and there's kind of like a like load balancer, so to speak, that says, all right, you work on this part of the problem, you work on this, you work on this, you work on this, and then you say, all right, I've done this, I've completed my share.
Yeah.
And if you basically send your job to the pool, and the pool hasn't found it or it's not processed that block, it'll say it's an accepted share. If someone else in the pool's already given it that, or the block's already been solved, it'll say it's a rejected share. You don't get any credit for that help.
Yeah.
But every bit that you contribute to the pool is an accepted share. When the pool gets the block reward, it splits it depending on how much you're adding to the pool. And that's how I've been mining and actually getting. I've got almost 0.1 Ethereum mined now. So.
0.1, all right.
So that's like $25 worth or $26 worth.
There you go.
But it's only been 2 GPUs since Sunday morning, I think. So
yeah.
I've
Okay.
just got 2
so
more
just a couple of
this
days. So
afternoon,
$25.
Yeah, and that's just Ethereum. I've already made like about 7 off SIA. So.
Do you think you're getting like maybe $30 a day?
Well, yeah.
In
So
total?
once I get it up and running, I don't know. We're gonna have to do the calculations, but I think off the 2 mining rigs, it should be somewhere between $600 to $900 a month. So, but again, it was about $4,500 for both rigs. So.
Yeah, cool.
So we'll see, but.
And how long are those machines good for?
Hopefully indefinitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I made
until
sure
the coins are done.
Yeah, all the graphics cards I'm buying are 4 gigs or more. Like I want to make sure they've got some resale value.
There you go.
And if
That's
they
good
scale
thing.
up the DAG file size, that you can still compete with. I mean, I don't think Ethereum will be at proof of stake before the DAG gets bigger than 4 gigs.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I don't even know what DAG means, but yeah.
It's just the file, and I think, and that's the thing. I don't know I bet it's like the algorithm, something or another. It's what the miner I use is Claymore writes to the. It's something that all the miners use. I need to do more research on the DAG file.
DAG or something. Or?
Yeah, I mean it's.
Do you know what
I don't
DAG
even-
stands for?
I don't. I've heard
yeah.
it called the DAG file. That it writes DAG file to GPU. I bet if you Google write DAG file to GPU, it'll find more.
So DAG is that's something else. That's an unfashionable or socially conservative person. Oh, to GPU.
Yeah.
DAG. I was hoping for a shorter answer.
I don't even know. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what these people are saying. Their 2 gig DAGs, 2 gig cards stopped working as soon as the DAG file got over. That's
Okay, Stack Exchange is pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, what many people talk about it, but what is an actual DAG file? Do they have something that got 4 answers? It stands for Directed Acrylic. Is that what it is?
The DAG or Hashimoto algorithm, I think. Right?
It stands for Directed
A cyclic graph.
A cyclic. Okay, so I know what a cyclic graph is. Ethereum. So, not a cyclic. I'm thinking of cyclic graph. Okay, so Ethereum is directed
Is this your backpack, dude?
Yeah.
Oh, it is? Oh, good. Yeah, I wasn't sure that little guy dropped it.
Yellow paper. Why not a white paper?
Because
they're eating up.
Yeah, exactly.
No, white
colors.
White paper is the concept. Yellow paper is the technical.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. White paper is the concept. So white paper
defines what it's gonna be.
Is
And then yellow makes it what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's I think another one, like it might either be called the blue or the black, and that's
Pink
the bit. maybe the pink. That's the business plan.
Okay.
Okay.
So what? So white. You like basically you just made a white paper a second ago. You're like, why not have a blockchain that doesn't have a blockchain?
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
There you go. White paper done.
And then figuring it out's the yellow, and then
Yeah.
how we're gonna make money off of it's the blue or black.
Yeah, whatever the heck it's called. I forget what the other one's
Turn it
called.
into
Yeah,
That's your
exactly.
budget and business plan and all that.
Right.
I mean, I've written a white papers before.
On white papers,
but,
yes.
But I didn't know
Yeah.
I didn't know all the details.
Well, you didn't.
write
You
one for
didn't.
this, you can get like
you
30
didn't
million,
sell it well.
apparently internet
You didn't-
money's just
you didn't
going
sell it
crazy.
well.
What's that?
You didn't sell it well.
Well,
You said, hey man, I got an idea. You should have said, hey man, I wrote a white paper. I'm asking for
No,
ICO investments.
we did a white paper.
For real?
For how
Okay.
to host a Society of Industrial and Applied Math conference.
There you go. That's
Well,
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
For
yeah.
graduate students. For graduate students.
Now,
Right,
on a
right.
side note, I don't talk about this enough with Barrett, but he's a math major.
Oh, nice. Very good.
I don't know how this applies to blockchain or if you're considering becoming a programmer on the side, but being a math major might help. I don't know.
Yeah. Cryptographic. I mean, like cryptography is pretty much mathematical proof. So
We did. I only did one little thing on cryptography, like
Okay.
an introduction to math course we had to take.
Yeah.
Like you got to pick a little thing.
Mm-hmm.
I picked fractals.
Fractals,
that'd be cool.
fractals
Yeah.
and shit.
That's what my research was in. That's what I know the most
sweet.
about. And then there's like, what do you call it? One other guy's picked cryptography, and so we studied it a little bit. And I think in combinatorics, I think we had to study it.
That's pretty cool. So, like, do you make a lot of those like computer-generated fractal like posters and stuff, or like? Well, I'm sure posters don't sell as much anymore. But,
They used to.
I remember those. Yeah.
Used to be like, hey, I
Those are
created a
mine.
fractal. It's $1,000.
Doing
You're
well.
like, I'm pretty sure you can just hit print a bunch.
Yeah. Probably like some fractal like VLC media player. They can go to your.
Well, I did.
songs or something.
Hey, thanks for anybody who stayed this long, and hope you learned something. If you want to come by and you live in Knoxville, Tennessee, 4:30 to 6, depending, Monday through Thursday we meet at various times. You can always give us a call. And Midnight Discovery, come get you, learn about some crypto block coins, profit from the knowledge.
Yes, sir.
Because knowledge is always profitable, whether you're an investor or not.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge, it's a lot of power.